Welcome to Voices of ABLE2, where we share real conversations about disability, inclusion, and community. I am ABLE2, and this episode is called The Ally That Changed Everything. Today we will be hearing from a match of ABLE2's matching program, Michael and Mike, who will be sharing more about how their friendship started and how this connection has made an impact on their lives. ABLE2's matching program connects a person with a disability with a volunteer on a one-on-one intentional match. Currently, we have over 140 people with disabilities waiting for their allies. And these individuals are simply seeking to have a friend to spend time with, someone who is not there or is not paid to be there to support them. Michael and Mike are only two of the hundreds of people who have seen a significant change in their overall well-being because of the matching program. Thank you for tuning in to Voices of ABLE2 today. Let's get started. Michael has lived with agoraphobia, or fear of open and crowded spaces, almost all his life. During the pandemic, he tells us that these feelings of loneliness and isolation heightened even more, which shaped his daily reality. Michael shares what life was like before he was matched with his ally, Mike.
I would say that the greatest impact for me was I mostly lived housebound for the last 12 years. So I was pretty isolated and had very little or no contact with outside world, outside my bedroom, even in my own house. I was isolated to a bedroom. So the fact that I'm here today is a great testimony of my journey. It took 12 years to be able to come outside. Health links had left one day with able to be a match, and I was skeptical that somebody could help someone like me or find a match that was suitable or compatible with someone like me, because I had no interaction with people for many years. And being agoraphobic, and I suffer from anxiety and I have depression. So the pandemic hit, COVID hit, and I got this call on Zoom saying that they had found a match for me and that I would be meeting someone. And I thought, well, finally a pandemic, everybody could feel the same isolation that I felt.
Obviously, the pandemic was an unfortunate time for everyone, but you must have felt sort of relieved that you didn't have to go out or talk to anyone because nobody was allowed to. But at the same time, it must have felt more isolating because nobody was socializing. Nobody was going out there or expecting you to socialize out there anyways.
And I was kind of glad because I didn't have to push myself to become extrovert, to be outside or anything, because finally everybody had to be like me. So I was kind of glad that my recovery would be slowed down because I didn't feel that I could do it.
So tell me about meeting Mike, because you met him during the pandemic. So from what I understand, you first met through Zoom. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, I met Mike on Zoom, and because of the pandemic restrictions, we weren't allowed to meet in public, or anybody could. And so I met Mike on Zoom, and we started our friendship there. And eventually, about 2 years, the pandemic restrictions were lifted, and Mike started coming to my place, and he took the role on himself to make it his mission to get me outside my bedroom and outside my home, making sure I got the medical appointments and making sure I remember to take my meds and to eat and just basic functions, showering and dressing and remembering today's Tuesday and supposed Wednesday, or because things just become a blur once you're isolated. It was jogging pants for 2 years. You didn't need to dress up. You didn't have to go anywhere. There was no pressing dates, and time just became irrelevant. So Mike was really my only outside source to time and in the world, really, what was going on. So I was grateful for that.
Yeah, and I guess the pandemic, as unfortunate as it was, I guess brought out something good, like having to meet Mike over Zoom, which must have been, less intimidating than meeting someone out in the public for the first time. How about for you, Mike? How did you find supporting Michael through the pandemic, and how did you do it?
I'm very fortunate, grateful for the connection with Michael, and honestly, in terms of how did I do it, I didn't do it. I have a lot of the same problems as Michael, so it was more just kind of like a, a, a symbiotic relationship that we were both helping one another. Obviously, COVID, like you mentioned, made everything different for everybody, and I was already a pretty introverted person myself, have depression, so we kind of connect on that and just help one another. So it was great. It was very mutually beneficial, so it was great. I see Michael super often. Again, not terribly extroverted, so I see Michael more than most people I know. So, uh, yeah, very fortunate for the time we have.
And so, Michael, from what I understand, Mike has helped you slowly make those steps to go outside once again. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've often had a med to experience ratio, depending on how much stress and or anxiety I was going to feel, because I would have panic attacks about panicking in public. So crippling that I can no longer go. So I'm gonna make excuses and rather push all the contact people away that way, force me to be outside and communicate with them. And many times I've told Mike not to bother, stay home and don't come, but yet he still has the ability to show up. And it started out small. He would come to my house. It took me 2 years to get out of my bedroom, taking me out 15 minutes a day. And I figured if I could tolerate 15 minutes in my living room and 15 minutes in my dining room, which I've never eaten in, and then eventually 15 minutes on my balcony, that if I could spend 15 minutes, I may be able to spend 20 or 30 or even longer. So as aversion techniques, the longer and the less I realized I could do it, the less panic attacks I would have. And Mike showed up around that time that I was just starting to do that. So medical appointments were always a blur to me. I forget to ask questions. And if I did ask the questions, I'd forget the answers because I was so confused and obviously panicking to be unknown and unfamiliar places. So Mike took me to these events, and he thought maybe I could do his goals were greater than mine. Like I think you could go to a coffee shop, and meanwhile I'm thinking I don't know I can make it out of the house today, but I try. So we go to Timmy's or wherever, and my greatest fears were hospitals, malls, anywhere where there's masses. I lie and Costco.
But that strategy that Mike had done with you seemed to have worked really well because, from what I heard in summer of 2023, you and Mike went to an Ottawa Senators game at the Canadian Tire Center. What was that like for you?
When we heard that we had tickets to go to the Sens game, and, I heard there could be upwards of 10,000 people, which I've never could could imagine or fathom in my mind. He said, "Well, let's do a test run. Are you ready for Costco?" And I said, "I don't think so. I don't think I could do that." So we worked our way up. We started walking in the mall, and when I realized I could do that, we went to Costco. And I mean, sure, it wasn't the greatest success in my mind. I still panicked and everything else, but the fact was that I actually went. I remained for an amount of time and got home, and I was okay. And to me, that was a success. So we went to the Sens gate, and of course, I panicked just getting in the car. We weren't even there yet. And when we got to the parking lot, it was starting to get real when you saw that many cars. And when you got inside the building, and when I saw just how it was funneled and stacked to the ceiling with all those faces or all those people, and it was so dazed and confused and distracted. And sure, I didn't actually know who won the game, but the fact was that I went and I stayed the whole time, and I managed to get home as a major success for me. And if you could put me in a room with 17,000 or more, I think I'm ready to do almost anything.
Wow, and that's just such a breakthrough from the plays that you were in months earlier, right? So how about for you, Mike? How was that whole experience for you?
Mike killed it. It was country night
Yes,
too,
it
so
was.
that helped. And they had some kind of not halftime show, period show. That was great. And yeah, yeah. As you mentioned, he didn't know the score, so but but
But
but he was just happy. He was looking around everywhere. It was great.
And Michael, this was your very first time in a room with over 17,000 people, right? What made you feel confident that you could actually, go and experience this?
yeah, as a child, I never got into sports or games or anything. I was always a little different and centered myself to my bedroom. So I never really got to experience even friendship or contact one on one of mine with masses. So I've always avoided those situations and found them very distressing. And to be able to see myself actually attending something like that was just, it was hard to comprehend or even get that vision in my head. I've even tried to watch it on TV sometimes. And just the fact that I've pictured myself there would cause great panic attacks. So to actually go and be successful and put my trust in Mike that I know that if anything happened, that he would get me out of that situation, and that I felt safe and be able to trust Mike to do the right.
Wow, that's such a heartwarming thing to know that just having someone you can trust and can rely on makes all the difference. So Michael, I want to hear about why you got involved with Able2 in the first place. Being from a place of anxiety and meeting people outside, what made you decide to find a match through the matching program?
So the people that did come in my life would come and go as a blur, and not sure what their intentions were or how they were going to help me. Was confusing a lot of the times. So it's a journey. And it's said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And I thought if I could find the courage just to take the one step, how can I help myself? So I agreed to meet the match and able to and to try something to break out, because definition of an idiot's doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result, and it hadn't worked in my 61 years. It's never worked for me. So I figured obviously something needed to change in me to be able to reach out. And when you're dealing with healthcare professionals on a time limit, they have different goals and agendas than you. So, and I even at able to, I was skeptical that they would find a match like me. And thank God they didn't. It's because of our differences that we are cemented together, not magnets attract each other, opposites attract, and not just a likeness. So, I mean, if Mike and I were exactly the same, he would be in his bedroom and I would be in mine, hoping to share ideas on Zoom about going out somewhere. So I'm glad that he has, you know, somewhat of a better relationship with the outside world than I do. So, and yet he has an understanding of where I'm coming from. So it's a great marry the two things together. Helps me a lot.
And how about for you, Mike? How did you learn about Able2's matching program, and why did you decide to sign up as a volunteer?
I think that I'd first heard about Able to because I wanted to find some kind of way to connect with the community, to volunteer. My partner recommended, I think she recommended one or two things, and Able to's kind of mission really struck a chord. It was good. It was not something as somebody's kind of averse to extroversion, that somebody who wants to connect more one on one. It was great. There wasn't any huge expectations, so there's not too much pressure. It's very doable. There's not a lot of strings attached. There's not a lot of being asked of you. There's most of the time we were just two people hanging out. We would hang out in one of our places or just coffee shop, or I mean, now that he goes to malls, we go to mall and just walk around. So it's great. And yeah, so I found out about ABLE2 through, I think it might have been a website, but I owe it all to my partner, and yeah, and also to Michael, because it was a good connection. It was a great connection, and very similar in a lot of ways. So just very thankful for it.
This has been such a great chat, and it's so heartwarming to listen to your experiences and learn about how your friendship has made a difference in your lives. Thanks again so much, Michael and Mike, for sharing your story. Any final words you would like to share to our listeners before we end?
I want to thank ABLE2 for helping me along my journey of recovery. And I want to thank Mike for being my match. And just want us both to be successful and hope to many more find their matches as well.
Yeah, and anybody who's thinking about it, I would say join. ABLE2 is great. You could meet someone like Michael. So thanks, ABLE2.
Michael and Mike's story is one that we are often fond of telling. Their journey together shows how one connection can make all the difference. This is what we see so often in the matching program. On the surface, it may look like volunteers and people with disabilities simply paired together. But what happens is more profound. We see improved mental health. We see growing self-confidence and self-esteem. We see friendships that become chosen families, and we see life-changing milestones like the one Michael just experienced. These are only two people supported by ABLE2, but their story reminds us that the impact of connection cannot be measured by numbers. It's measured in lives transformed. Since recording this conversation, Michael has moved to Toronto to begin a new chapter in his life. But despite the distance, his connection with Mike remains strong. Through ABLE2's Connect matching program, which offers virtual support and friendship, the two continue to stay in touch, proving that relationships built on mutual trust and support can thrive no matter the miles between them. Thank you so much to Michael and Mike for sharing your story. We would like to thank our presenting sponsor, Sequence Marketing. As one of ABLE2's most trusted partners, Sequence Marketing has played a vital role in amplifying ABLE2's mission, connecting with communities, and sharing stories that matter. Known for their creative and people-focused approach, they bring a commitment to storytelling and brand excellence that makes a real impact. Their generous support has made this podcast possible. Thank you, Sequence Marketing, for helping us make inclusion heard. If you'd like to learn more about the matching program or how you can get involved with ABLE2, visit able2.org. Thank you for listening to Voices of ABLE2. If this episode moved you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Join us next time for another story that deserves to be heard.